units at the tent shop. All their vans that go out and do mobile tenting have the windshields tinted. So he took me out. I sat in the van. Welcome to another episode of Salty Country. This episode, we're going to talk about the Prius. We just passed the 6-month mark of owning this thing. So I wanted to talk about it. But real quick, I want to kind of put a disclaimer in here. I'm not going to answer everybody's question. So if you have a question, feel free to politely reach out in the comments and I will comment back. The last episode that Melody did, I forget exactly what time frame it was that she did it. Someone responded, just been out of shape, that we didn't talk about, or she didn't talk about the miles per gallon. You know, that they claim that that's what the Prius is known for. Why didn't you talk about that? Blah, blah, blah. So here's the deal. Your gas mileage, your miles per gallon is only going to be as good as you make it as a driver. If your foot is pedal to the metal all the time, you're not going to get the 50 something miles per gallon that Prius claims on the sticker that you'll get. If you drive conservatively and kind of pay attention uh, with your eco system on the car, you'll get great gas mileage. You'll get even more than Prius. And this car, I think, is uh, rated at like 52 miles per gallon. This is the 2024 Prius Limited. So um, Melody has it set up to where she sees the MPGs as you're driving, kind of in the eco range or whatever. It's it's her car. She sets it up how she wants. If I get in it and drive it, I kind of like that setting being there because sometimes you can be driving and if you just let up on the pedal just a little bit, it'll put you to where you're in eco mode and you can still run 60, 70, 80 miles an hour and be in eco mode and get 100 miles per gallon. So that visual right there helps um, if you have that displayed on your instruments. So since we just passed the 6-month mark, I wanted to talk about this, but I wanted to make it clear. If I don't cover something and you got a question, just ask. Um, I politely responded to the guy that was bent out of shape about us not sharing miles per gallon, and he just wanted to be a butthead. Some people are like that. They want to get their social media muscles, I call them, because they're sitting at a computer somewhere and they just want to have a unreasonable conversation that they wouldn't have with you face to face. So all I ask is if you got a question, if there's something that I didn't cover, just be respectful. Ask the question. I'll be the same way when I respond to it. Um, so all right, I'm going to tell you what we have normally done with this car for the past 6 months. The car's got just under 10,000 miles, and a lot of you may go, wow, that's a lot of miles for 6 months. We're here on the farm now. We have a house in Florida. That's where we're going to retire. If you follow us on this channel, you kind of know that we go back and forth a good bit. So a couple times a month, uh, we'll get off work on Friday and pack up the car and the dogs and head out. We got about a 5-hour drive. So by bedtime after we get off work, we're in Florida at the other house, and we spend Friday night, Saturday night there, and drive back on Sunday to the farm to go back to work. So the majority of the miles that are on this car are from the couple weekends a month that we typically go to the other house. It's 300 miles down there and 300 miles back. So that's a 600-mile round trip. So 1,200 miles a month is basically what we're putting on it when we go down there, and that's not including her going to work every day and the other trips that we make around town. So anyway, we'll talk about the mileage that she gets around here versus when we're on the highway. So typically, if I get in the car and Melody's been driving around here for a week or two or three, sometimes it's 2 or 3 weeks before we go down there. But when I get in there, normally it's in the 50 something mile per gallon average for her trips around here on the farm. I mean, from the farm to work and that kind of stuff, and from the farm to town to for whatever driving that she does around here. So once we get on the highway, of course, that's going to drop. Typically, from here at the farm, we're on the interstate within 3 miles of the house, and we stay on what I would say 4 lane highways to within a mile of the other house. So the speed limit is from 70, 65. Of course, you go through some small towns and it's 4 lane and they drop down. But the majority of the trip, we're on the interstate or 4 lane highway. All right, so when we get on the highway, if her average for what she's been driving around here is in the 50s, it's going to drop. But I will say this: all the trips that I've driven, it doesn't go below like 44.5 or somewhere around there, um, and that's running 80 plus miles an hour for the majority of a trip, a 5 hour trip. So um, it all depends on your driving habits. All right, so I've made it clear about the driving habits. Uh, Also, I'll say to the Prius owners, there's a fifth generation Prius groups on Facebook. If you're on that, uh, there's a lot of information that gets shared on there. You have the same type people on there. Sometimes you have the same people that want to be butt heads when somebody's asking a question, but um, just go on there and read some of the comments if you got questions about specific cars. One big thing with this car, Melody and I did a lot of research. We watched a lot of reviews on YouTube prior to purchasing it. And you have these people that's all they do is review vehicles. They don't really spend a lot of time in them. They'll jump in them because they get like a preview of that model coming out and they get in it. They don't really understand all the functions of the car and they complain about different things. So the big thing with this car, the majority of the reviews that we watched were of guys complaining about the headroom. I'm 6 foot tall. Headroom is not an issue. Now this is the limited version, so I have up and down adjustment on the seat. So the setting where I have my setting when I'm driving it, I've got probably 4 inches of head clearance, and I can still see the instrument cluster fine. So I don't know if the LEs or the more basic Priuses don't have the up and down adjustment on the seat. So if that's the case, then that may be an issue in some of those models. But if I get in the car and the seat's on her setting, I can see everything fine. Yep, my head's a little closer to the top, but it doesn't touch. So um, the headroom thing is not an issue. The the current models, they've I think slowed down selling some of these because the back door release button is right in here. There's a recall on that for all the new models. These things, they say, could inadvertently open. So we haven't had any problems with it. I don't know of anyone that has specifically mentioned in the groups that they've had a problem of driving and the doors have come open. But on the recall, Toyota is going to replace that switch. So they're not currently doing it where we are in the U.S. So they're waiting on parts. So um, if you've got a Prius on order or you're waiting for your Prius to come in, that might be some of the delay. Is because they were trying to fix this on some models prior to selling them. All right, we'll talk about remotes real quick. When you purchase one of these, you're going to get one remote. And in the Prius forums or groups on Facebook, I've seen anywhere from a month to a year getting the second remote. I guess it just depends on what area you live in. 6 months in, we just got the second remote. I got my remote this past weekend. So it 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 just varies. One thing that we've had done to the car since we've purchased it is we've had the windows tinted. I want to talk about that for just a minute. Uh, as everybody knows that has a Prius, these things have a lot of glass in them. Glass top. The windshield in this thing is very long. The back glass is very long. So you have a lot of glass exposure. So the inside of these cars will get very warm. We probably had the windows tinted on here a couple months ago, and it had not got to the real hot heat of the summer, but still you could get in the car. If it was a sunny day, I would say upper 70s, low 80s. It was very hot in there. So this has made a huge difference. We also had the windshield tinted. Uh, I shared this in the Prius group. A lot of them uh, had some pushback because I guess it's illegal where they live. So they didn't feel comfortable doing it. I can't really tell when I get in it that it's even tinted when you're driving. That was my big question when we had took it to get it tinted. He asked me about the windshield, and I said, "Well, I want to sit in a vehicle that has a tinted windshield before I make a decision." So their mobile units at the tint shop, all their vans that go out and do mobile tinting, have the windshields tinted. So he took me out. I sat in the van. You see great during the day. At night, I I think it actually helps with the glare of the windshield, but it doesn't like make it any darker. It doesn't seem any darker than it would normally be. So that's something that is going to be your personal preference. The I'll say this: when we're traveling, you know, sometimes depending on how hot it is outside, she'll get home from work. It's about probably a 15 or 20-mile drive home from work in the evening. The car's been sitting outside all day, and she'll probably have the air anywhere from 67 to 69, set somewhere in that range. When we get on the road for the 300-mile trip, typically by the time we get there, the air is up around 71 or 72. Once this thing cools off inside with these tinted windows, it stays cool in there. So uh, that's a huge, huge factor. I did not have the top tinted on the inside, and I'm thinking about taking it back and having the front and back area tinted with as dark a tint as I could put on it. Because we don't open that up that often. It's not like that. It's a big deal to us. So I'm probably going to have the sunroof area for the back seat and the sunroof area for the front seat, have them tinted dark, and that'll probably make even a bigger difference on the inside. When we first bought the car, tires were a huge issue. The limiteds come with a 19-inch wheel and tire. Um, I think this is the one thing Toyota did badly. When you coming out with a new model and it has a specific tire size that's unique to that vehicle, it's not a common size that has been on other vehicles. You need to make sure that you've ensured that the tire manufacturers have tires on hand in case someone has a tire issue, that they can get a tire. What I did after we bought the car, because I had done a lot of research and looked in the forums and seen that, excuse me, seen that people were sitting a month or two or three waiting on a tire. These cars do not come with a spare tire unless you get like the LEs. I think they have 17-inch wheels, and I think they come with a spare. So what I did after we purchased the car is I purchased a takeoff that someone that had bought a Prius, decided they want custom wheels and tires, and they pulled the factory um, wheels off. The chickens are over there acting up. So I purchased a takeoff tire and wheel, and we put it in the rear hatch area, and just have it with us in case we have an issue. We haven't had any issues. I also purchased a what I call a donut. It's a Prius spare tire. It's one of the tires that you're not supposed to drive over 50 miles an hour. It's only good for so many miles and that kind of stuff. Um, I purchased one of those from eBay, and I have it available. I'm going to eventually buy the. I was going to cut the foam in here to see if I can make the factory tire fit and just have a factory full size wheel. Um, but now they kind of corrected the issue with the tires 6 months down the road. So you can get a tire in case you have an issue. But I'm going to buy the foam kit for the hatch area, take the foam that's in there now, take it out and store it, and buy those but the two foam kits so I can put the tire in, and I'll buy the screw that locks the tire in. The kit that you can buy on eBay, if you buy the donut, comes with, you can buy a kit that comes with a jack. So I recommend you do that. You might can save a little bit of money doing it a different route, but it was pretty economical doing it the way I did. Um, so that's kind of the situation with the tires. That was my one worry. Fortunately, we live in the South and the roads are a little bit better here than they are up north. But the folks up north during the winter with the potholes and all that stuff, they had a rough time. They would hit a pothole and blow out a sidewall on a tire, and there was none available. So I spoke to Toyota factory and I spoke to Michelin about this issue, and they want to point the finger at each other and not really take responsibility. So anyway, it seems to be working its way itself out, so there's not an issue with the tires. Uh, but it is a little bit of, I will say this is a little bit of an inconvenience, losing a little bit of that space in the hatchback area when you're going on a trip and you need some little bit extra storage. We got a full size tire in there, so it does take up a good bit of space, but it has not hindered. Everybody wants to talk about the weight and all that stuff about getting better gas mileage. Yeah, weight is a factor, but your foot's the biggest factor. If you like to drive fast all the time and don't pay attention to eco mode and all that stuff, you're going to probably be in the 40s. Um, and that's probably the best you're going to get. But if you pay attention, put it on the proper settings where you can kind of monitor it, you can get in the 50s average. Some of the trips that we do, we average 60 something miles per gallon. I recently shared a picture on the group on Facebook. We made a 69 mile, I think, trip, and I was in the 50 something mile range per gallon. So, um, and that was going from here into the mountains of northwest or northeast Alabama. So a lot of that was climbing. So um, it all depends on your driving habits. Uh, the inside, it's got this is the what they call the wind chill pearl version. The inside is the lighter. Um, I don't know if it's not leather, but it's similar to leather. I think that helps too with keeping the heat in the car a little cooler. A lot of times in the group on Facebook and on some YouTube videos, people were complaining about the phone charger. This car has the phone charger. You drop it in, and so Melody got the car, and probably for the first month, she couldn't really figure out why her phone wasn't charging right. So we went by the dealership one weekend, and the salesman that sold us the car come out and showed her cover that she had on her phone was preventing it from charging. So now when she wants to charge her car, she just pops or her phone in the car, she just pops the cover off and drops it in there. It charges perfectly. So that's going to be one thing you have to keep in mind if you want to charge your phone in the little pocket you just drop it in, you're going to have to take your cover off. Uh, it's got the USB-C ports and all that stuff, so you can plug it in and charge it that way if you want to. But um, it works fine. It's just with these new models, it's about everybody learning how the car functions and what the little quirks are with it. So we're very pleased. Um, this we plan on keeping this car for as long as we can keep it. I hope to be doing a review one of these days, and this thing's got 300,000 plus miles on it. So we'll see. The biggest thing is make sure you keep up on your maintenance and take care of your car. I always tell my kids, you take care of your car, it'll take care of you. Yeah, there's going to be times that you have catastrophic failures with something, and it's just kind of out of your hands. But for the most part, if you'll keep the oil changed in them regularly and keep them serviced properly, keep your tire pressure all properly, it'll these things will last a long time. Let's see what else. Uh, the Bluetooth features with our phone all work great. We use Waze app. The Toyota map on this car is great, but the Apple iPlay or iTunes or whatever it does, it's CarPlay. That's what it is. It connects with her phone and pop the Waze app pops up on the screen, and that's her preferred method of navigating. So no complaints with that. Um, well, let's see what else. The dogs travel with us. Uh, they are very comfortable in this car. We got one of those seat protectors that kind of hooks over the headrest of the front seats, covers up the seat, hooks over the headrest of the um, back seats. Let's see if she's got that still in here. Kind of got it unhooked, but it works great. Uh, this doesn't have rear air in it. That's some of the complaints, but I'll tell you, the dogs get in the car when we're heading on a road trip, and the car is nice and cool inside. They crash out, and when we get there 5 hours later, they're ready to get out and go do other things. So it's very comfortable for them. Uh, our boxer, he's a black boxer, so he gets very hot outside, just running around playing and that kind of stuff. So if he gets hot in the car, he's gonna let you know because he's gonna start panting. So he gets in here, chills out, and enjoys the ride. But I think I've covered pretty much everything that I want to cover in this episode. If you got any questions, feel free to ask. Um, these are great cars. Melody loves this car. Uh, she thought she was gonna have some reservations when she had the Rav4 hybrid, and she was just concerned that she might have some reservations when she got this car. She told me the other day she has no regrets, and so she really, really loves this car. But I'm gonna wrap it up. Remember, if you like our content, subscribe, share it with your friends. Hopefully, in a few more months, we'll be doing another review and talking about where we're at that point. But thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you on the next one.